Hello everybody, Drifty here from Driftwood Gaming, and we are back with our Let's Make a Game series, episode 13. So, for those of you just joining us, welcome to the series. For those of you who have been watching the series, welcome back. In this episode, what we're going to be doing is going over the changes of the database in the game. Starting with the actors, we're going to run through the database real quick, and then we're going to continue working on the game. So the new actors that have been added are Olgwin, Captain Olgwin. He's going to be our airship pilot when we get our airship, which is right after his scenario. Well, actually, what I'm thinking about doing is switching scenes to Dark Hero. Moving on, so before we get our airship, though the party will get the airship after you do this scene, but before we go back to the full party, we're going to do another individual scenario of Dark Hero. Dark Hero is our bard. He is a spy. He's hired by the Empire to be a spy, but little else is going to be known to the player about why he's working with the Empire. He's going to eventually join the team, so he's going to be like a convert. He's going to be switching from the Empire to the party side once certain key points in the plot are revealed. But I haven't figured it all out, and the parts that I have figured out, I don't want to spoil quite yet. So I'll leave that up to your imaginations. He's got custom skill levels. I did a Bard class spotlight. If you're interested in going into more in depth, I won't be fully covering everything about the Bard, but because I've already done that in a past video, I'll put it in the cards up here. So he's got custom variables, so that if you go to the status menu, you can see his skill levels and where he's at. That way you're never unsure of where his levels are. So he's going to start with a little more gear than the rest of the party. By the time you get him, the party will have the gloves and probably a belt and maybe a weapon upgrade and maybe some enchantments on their gear. So this is still starting him with this stuff is just about right, especially since he's working with the Empire, and the Empire is going to be a little more fully supplied soldiers than the Kingdom, which will be the underdogs basically in this world. So moving on to the classes, naturally both of the new actors are going to have their own class. So the Mystic Gunslinger, he's going to be a gun class. He's going to be the captain of the airship pilot, but he's going to have like pistol weapons. So he's got elemental based pistol weapons, so he doesn't really focus on anything except for the 6 elements and then the fusion element, which is like a combination of the 6 elements. So he's got Flame Shot, Frost Shot, Shock Shot, Aqua Shot, Geo Shot, Arrow Shot, and the Tech 2 and the Tech 3 versions of those skills spread out through from level 20 to level 60. By the time you get him, the party should be around level 18 to 20, maybe a little higher if you were grinding to beat the optional bosses. Pretty much same setup for the traits, except I've given him 1% more hit rate. Might adjust that, and 2% more crit rate. Most of them have plus 1% crit rate, so he's gonna be like your kind of like glass cannon, because he doesn't have a ton of HP, but he's gonna be your damage dealer for sure. Once again, he's gonna have the enhanced stats, which I have nerfed because job points aren't that hard to get, and you can really get your character super uber strong without leveling up so much. So I've had to impose countermeasures, so I've reduced the amount of HP, MP, and all the stats you get from spending the 1000 JP. He's also, like the rest of the classes, what I've added is some new passive skills, so they're going to be able to learn passive auto regen, auto refresh, and auto regain, which is HP, MP, and TP respectively, regenerations. But it's a small amount, so it'll be 3% of each per tick, per turn, per action. So that's it for the Gunslinger. The Bard's gonna have his own class. Well, Dark Hero's the Bard, so we've had to make the class for him. He's got quite a few spells spread out between level 20 to 44. I'll be adding skills up to probably level 100. We'll see how many we get by the time everybody's got their skills. What I plan to do in this episode is start building some more skills for the cleric, because I've advanced the plot line up to the point where you get Tiana back and you're supposed to sail south to the pyramid. So we need to design the pyramid. We might get into that in this episode. We need to design the pyramid, where we're going to be building maps for uh, uh, the gunslinger Captain Olgin's scenario, where you won't get him as soon as you get to the pyramid. You'll have, because you just at the point in the story, you just got your clerk back. You just got Tiana back, so you were going from 3 members to back to up to 4 party members for the first time in the game. So there'll be a little bit of time traveling from the top of the left continent to the southern part of the western continent, and there's only going to be a few battles. I've added a few new enemies, and I've added regions around this continent where we're going to be making it so that you can only encounter certain enemies when you're using the boat. So before you get the airship, you're going to have to get the regular boat and sail your way south down here into this area. I've started the map for the forest little outpost, but it's unpopulated right now. It's just an empty map with some the maps are done, but not the interiors, just the exterior map. So we need to design the interior map for the little forest, or not the forest, the desert oasis outpost thing, and we need to start designing all of the maps for the pyramid dungeon. So probably we'll use 1 or 2 sample maps for the interiors and stuff, but we'll be doing some custom mapping as well. I'm going to try to stray away from using too many more sample maps. I'm going to be using them, of course, because they're beautiful. And one thing that I've done is I've added a new tile set to make it so that the interior of the sample maps look a little bit different. I mean, it's still a copy-paste of a sample map, but I've edited them a little bit by using a different tile set, so it'll look a little bit different. The enemies that I'm going to be adding around the coastline here are going to be like piranha and fish and maybe Sahuagin enemies. A lot of stuff has been done with the enemies as far as traits are concerned, but we'll get to those. We're going to go methodically through all of the database changes. That way I don't forget stuff, which I'm likely going to be doing anyway. Assassinate has been changed, so it no longer requires impure TP, but it's using another one of Yanfly's plugins that limits how many actions you'll be able to use, the expansion for a skill core, the limited skill uses. So I'm using this plugin for currently 1 skill. It'll be used for more skills in the future, as I see that certain skills are so strong that I don't want them to be able to be used multiple times in combat. However, I have created an item that's used in conjunction with Assassinate, so we'll just hop over that and hop back real quick. So the Assassin's Cloak, when you equip the Assassin's Cloak, you're going to be able to use 2 more Assassinate skills per combat. So if you get your hands on the Assassin's Cloak, you'll be able to use Assassinate 3 times per combat, which is pretty strong, especially since I've made Assassinate, I think I've posted this in a tutorial as well, work in conjunction with Bleed Strike. So Assassinate by itself is just ATK times 5, nothing special. There's a lot of other abilities. In matter of fact, your level 5 ability for Driftwood, who would be our Ronin in this class, in this game, he's going to have an ATK times 7 or times 8 ability at starting off. So this is actually a weaker attack if you're not using it with bleed. However, if the target is bleeding, it's going to be 5 times the damage issued if they're bleeding. So I mean, Assassinate, so if you land the Bleed Strike on them, I'm actually going to reduce that. I was thinking about how it was just, if you get your hands on the Assassinate Cloak, it's just going to be super duper strong. So what I wanted to do was reduce the chance to inflict bleeding down to 60%. I think that would work a little bit better. And the TP cost was already pretty low, especially since we've added the new Enhanced TP, which is an amazing plugin. Thank you, Yanfly. We've been adding new modes and everything, but we'll get into that later. So you use Bleed Strike, you get your opponent bleeding, which is going to do like a negative 5% regen, which is like a weak poison. But then if they're bleeding and you use Assassinate, you're doing 5 times the damage to your target, which is crazy. You use that with the Assassin's Cloak, and you're going to be able to do Bleed Strike, Assassinate, and do 75 times your attack in 4 turns. Well, actually, it would be times 3, I think, is the Bleed Strike. times 4. So you'll be doing 79 times your attack in 4 turns, plus a negative 5% regen rate. So that is very, very strong. That's why I've had to reduce this a little bit and make this limited use. I originally had the Assassin's Cloak doing 3 extra Assassin Strikes, but I've reduced it down to 2, maybe even might reduce it down to 1 additional one, just because it's so strong. And I might actually make this 4 times the damage, but we'll see what happens, and I need to run through the game a little bit more and do some grinding. If you're interested in watching how far the plotline has got, I'll put a link in the cards to the non-content where I just play through the game and randomly fix things, and don't really go over everything that I'm doing, just sort of you can kind of listen to and watch what I'm doing. If you're interested in that sort of thing, it's a long 2.5-hour video, but I like watching that, even though it's just a playthrough, because I see things that I need to fix when I'm watching it. So I mean, I've watched it not completely, but I've skipped through some of it and found some bugs that I didn't even notice as I was playtesting it, but watching it back, I found a few more bugs, so that's been helpful for me, and hopefully it'll help you guys figure out some stuff too. So we'll get down to the skills for our Mystic Gunslinger. The Flame Shot, Frost Shot, Shock Shot, Aqua Shot, Geo Shot, Arrow Shot abilities. They're basically using 4 different stats because they're going to be pretty strong, especially if you focus on elemental weaknesses, which I've done in the enemies. We're going to get to that too. Every enemy in the game has got strengths, weaknesses, and status, immunities, and it's just a whole different game now in comparison to like a little over a week ago. So every shot uses a different element, respectively. The descriptions have been updated so that it looks nice and clean and gives a clear description of what it's going to do. It inflicts a state, it shows the element that it's doing. I've made custom icons for all of these abilities. The TP costs have been adjusted to accommodate for different different tiers of the same skills. They've all got their own custom animations that I spent a lot of time on. You could actually see the Mystic Gunslinger class spotlight. I think I did one. And they all have the chance to critical hit because they're essentially an attack. So the formula for all of them, for all the tech ones, are attack, magic attack, agility, and luck. All of those stats times 2, but adding all of those up together. So it's basically using 8 of your character's parameters in the attack formula. So it's pretty strong. It's a really good class, I believe. So they all have a small % chance to inflict new states. So we'll get to the states a little bit as soon as we get down there, but I'm going to just jump to them really quickly. So the burning, every element of the 6 main elements have their own like poison-like state. So you've got burning, which is going to increase the damage, the fire damage that if you're under the state of burning, then fire damage is 25% stronger on you. And plus it's a negative 5% HP regeneration, similar to a weak poison or similar to bleeding. And I've adjusted bleeding so that it does 10% more physical damage. So if you're bleeding, you're gonna take more physical damage. We're using element rate. I just said that for all of the burning, chilled, shocked, soaked, rocked, and dizzy states. So you'll be taking more elemental damage. So if you're going to be, if you're planning to use a strong elemental attack on them, you might want to inflict the state on them first. So if you have this strong tornado-like spell, if you inflict dizzy on them first, they're going to take 25% more damage from that tornado. So this makes it more tactical, I believe, and more strategic, and I like that. So moving down to the Tech 2 version, only thing that's changing is the damage output is increased by basically 50% from 1 to 2. The TP cost is increased from 10 to 25, and the chance to add the state is increased by 5%. And then the Tech 3 version, the chance to add the state has been increased further by another 5%. And the formula has been, the damage will be increased by another 1 to each parameter. So essentially, four of your parameters are so the damage is going to increase up, and the TP cost as well accordingly. So these might be adjusted further. I need to go through. I originally had it cost 20, 50, 80, and then 100, but I thought that was too expensive, especially since I'm still balancing the enhanced TP and all the modes and everything. So the Tech 2s are going to cost 25, and the Tech 3s are going to cost 65, all the way down to Arrow Shot 3. After that, I've added 2 new ones, the Fusion Shots. So Fusion is essentially adding all of the 6 basic elements into one element, but the engine doesn't quite understand how to calculate multiple elements when used by specifying an element. It's kind of complicated, but there's a way around it that a lot of people like to do, is just create a new element and call it like all elements, or in my case, Fusion. So this is going to be basically 6 different elements. So when you use the Fusion Shot, there's a 10% chance to add each of these states. So the Fusion Shot essentially has a 60% chance to inflict a debuff on him, which is pretty strong. Also, the damage formula keeps going up in the same way. So with the regular Tech 1 abilities, you have all of your 4 of your parameters times 2, and then you have for the Tech 2 version, the Tier 2 version of the shots, you've got them times 3, and so forth to the Tier 4. I'm sorry, the Tier 3 versions are going to have 4 times the 4 of the parameters. The Fusion Shot is going to go up accordingly to 5, and then the Tech 2 version of the Fusion Shot basically increases the chance to add those states by 15% each, but there's 6 of them, so that goes up to a 90% chance to inflict a state when using the Fusion Shot 2. This Fusion Shot 2 was going to cost 100 TP. I originally had it costing 150, thought that was a little high, but I might be adjusting this to 120 or 125 or something. And the formula goes up to ATK, MAT, AGI, and luck times 6. And I feel like it's pretty balanced, but I'm sure there'll be some more tweaks and changes I'll have to do to that. So the description has been updated so that it lets the player know that it's going to add a chance to add all of these states, and it looks really cool in game, especially since I've changed the font. And I put a tutorial on how to change the font. I know a lot of people did like that one. I personally, when I figured that out, I was like, this. I don't know what took so long. I should have just went to down here and searched for font, you know. But it's just a matter of getting the naming of the exact font size. Because what happens is sometimes people will make a font or they'll rename it, but it's not renamed on the installation. So it installs a font that's called whatever font _1, but the name, they exclude the _1, and then when you reference that, the game just crashes or it gets stuck on the loading screen saying it can't, and then you might even get a can't load font error message. So I'm really glad that we got the font changed, because I feel like it does. It's a simple thing of changing the font, but it really changes the game up from that default look, you know, that everybody has their game. So I highly recommend changing your font. There's a lot of free fonts out there. Just go to Google and search for some fonts, and a lot of them will tell you if you have to like purchase a license to use them in a commercial game. But a lot of them are free to use for personal. So if you're not selling your game, you can use almost any font, basically. This game won't be sold, but if just because I found a font that I liked and it was actually commercial friendly, like I could actually use the font that I have in this game in a game that I'm charging. But like I said, I'm not going to charge you guys for this game. This is a game made for you guys because I love you guys, and it's something I love to do anyway. So we're going to continue on down. After we've got through the fusion shots, we've started doing our bard skills. So Healer's Paean is our first bard skill, and then we've added all kinds of different bard skills. So I've already gone through these in the not Let's Make a Game. This is for the bard class spotlight. So if you want a breakdown of all of these in depth and all the custom note tags, go watch that video. I'll put a link in the card, so up here, so you guys can check that out. But basically, the Healer's Paean is going to restore HP to the party and get stronger over time. So will the Phoenix Paean, but it's going to bring back members from the dead. So the Phoenix Paean, I'm thinking about changing this so you don't initially start with Phoenix Paean. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Should I make it so that you have to do some sort of event in game to, like, maybe once you get Dark Hero the Bard, you have to like travel around and speak to other bards and learn songs from the other bards in order to learn the Phoenix Paean? I'm thinking about doing that, but let me know if you guys would like it to be a skill that you learn just from leveling up, or should you have to travel the world and basically participate with other musicians to learn this sort of skill. Bolster Morale is going to be an early, you get early skill that the bard learns, which is going to increase TP regeneration, and it's based, once again, it's one of the custom ones based off of a skill. So this one checks to see if the skill is over a number, and if it is, then it like ranks up the state that you would get. So I had to make several different states of the same thing. If you see here, I've got several bolster morales because the number changes throughout. So in the Let's Make a Bard, I have changed around how I do the bard since that video, and I imagine I'll be doing more changes because the game's like, you know, it's always an evolution process. Like, it's always going to be changed. It's always things will always be changing. So I've had to reduce it because I've enhanced the max TP. So TP regeneration works off a percentage of max TP, just like HP and MP does. So when you had 100 TP cap, you knew that when you go TP regeneration plus 5, that it's going to give you 5 TP, because you only had 100 and you couldn't change that number because there was like no way to really manipulate TP at all, unless you use some random dude's TP plugin, which is really cool. But I have to, you know, say that of course Yanflies is going to blow that out of the water. I love you, some random dude. I love you, dude. So now that we've increased our maximum TP in my game, I've clamped it from 100 to 1,000. That's going to be a lot of TP when you add 5%, you know. So it's going to give you 50 TP for 5%. So initially I had this 5, 10, 15, 20, 25%. So that would give you 250 TP a turn, which is ridiculous. So I had to nerf this down. So I've adjusted this bolster morale from 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10%, which is still incredibly high when you think about it. At max level, you're going to have 1,000 TP. So every turn, you're going to get 100 TP with this bolster morale state inflicted. So really, really strong. The Bard is one of my favorite classes so far in this game. And I've actually put a lot of time into it to make it the way that it is. So Incite Intent, it's just going to spend TP to get TP. Like I said, I'm not going to go into everything for it because I've already done that in another video. Full Requiem is going to be your AoE attack. Striker Minuet, these are all of these next 6 skills are going to be your buff parameters. So this would be your ATK, your defense, your magic attack, your magic defense, your agility, and your luck. The Thrinities are using Moogle X's in enhanced element, or no, I'm sorry, it's I'm sorry, Moogle, what was your plugin? Element Booster. So we're using Element Boost plugin note tags. So the Thrinities are calling on for a state, and the state is going to give an Element Boost note tag, which I've aliased as potency in the game. I don't know, I just like the way it sounds, and it makes sense. Like, how strong, how potent are your skills? So certain items and armors will have potency on them. Right now I haven't put too many because it stacks, it multiplies. It doesn't add up the potencies, it multiplies them. So you have to be careful about how many different 50% bonuses you get. Here's an example. If you have 2 items that give plus 50%, it'll work the same, right? If you have 100% damage and then you give a 50% bonus and then another 50% bonus, it's going to give you basically double damage. But if you have 3 of them, it's going to give you 50% of that double damage. So it's going to actually give you quite a bit more. And then if you do 4 of them, it's going to give you 50% of that double time 2.5 damage. So it multiplies in a particular way, and you have to be careful about the numbers you're using and how many instances of element boost you are applying and stacking at one time. And I've reduced the fire potency on this particular item from 100% to 50%, which is still incredibly strong, because I've added new items, which I'm going to get into. Basically, they're items that inflict a bunch of different things, but I'm going to go to those in a second. Added those Thrinities. I've added these 2 were for a plugin, or I'm sorry, these 2 were for a tutorial, the Occult Immunity and the Equip Shield. So I'm not currently using these 2 in game, but I was using a certain way to that you can add your own passives without like fully relying on the note tag of passive state. So there's multiple ways to do it, but like I said, you'd have to do a custom in if you do it this method. So for the ones I'm using in game, I'm actually using the note tags because it's just better. That way you don't have to design custom ends, and I have designed custom ends anyway. But just in case I leave a recover all, it doesn't remove passives and just create a game-breaking bug somewhere. So just for simplicity, I've made the ones that I'm using in game using Yanfly's note tags passive states. So I've added auto regen, auto refresh, and auto regain, which is HP regen, MP regen, and TP regen. But I've just given them their own little Final Fantasy XI-esque naming scheme. They cost a lot of JP. Basically, you'd be able to enhance your stats 10 times for the amount of JP that it would cost to create one of these auto regens. But it's a really nice bonus to have, and it only gives 3% up to each. And I might even make the TP one a little bit less. I'm gonna leave it how it is right now, and then after I do some more grinding and long plays, probably off camera of the gameplay and get more feedback from my beta testers, then I'll adjust the numbers accordingly. Right now they're going to be 3% each respectively. So these are our passive skills, and I've added those note tags to all of the classes so that they can learn these passive skills. So they'll be able to enhance their stats with the skill learning system, and they'll be able to add passives with the skill learning systems. Most, if not all, of the skills that you learn will be through leveling up and or eventing, through completing like jobs and completing quests and missions and whatnot. I do like the skill learning system for learning skills, but it gets convoluted really quickly when you're trying to reference what until the end of the game. I don't think I'll be adding the skill learning system to learn all of the skills, but it doesn't have to, you know, be used for every single skill to be useful, because it's still extremely useful with just enhancing your stats and adding passive states. So I really like that plugin, and would hate not to have it. So there was a tutorial put out today by Phantom, and he just started his YouTube channel, so go check him out. He's got some cool plugins, some cool tutorials rather. He just started doing his thing, but his words escape me. His knowledge of JavaScript is pretty decent from what I can tell, or if this was copy-pasted code from something else, I don't know, but he's added a this is a new one to me, the index of user. So I'm still working on my JavaScripting. You know, I'm doing the Codecademy tutorials and whatnot, and I've been messing with it for a while. But I love to see new tutorials where people show me new things, and that's what I love to see. So if you want to make RPG Maker tutorials, please start doing it, because I love to watch RPG Maker MV tutorials. I love to learn about JavaScripting, and that's in part why I like to make these, because I make things that I want to see, and I make games that I want to play. And so I would love for you to start doing that if that's interest you, and I would love to help you if you would love to help me back. It's a win-win. It's a win-win. So I've added some resources from Yanfly. So I've basically these are all copy-pasted from Yanfly's sample project. And if you support Yanfly on Patreon, you can get his sample project every Monday night, or sometimes in the afternoon. So lots of cool resources in there, and you know, it's a great way to start a new game. So you can copy paste a few things from his project. I'm sure he won't mind. This is why he does it anyway. So support him on Patreon. Support me on Patreon too if you want, and you can get all kinds of extra stuff. I don't plan to use, you know, all of these, but I did just copy paste this in one go, and I'm currently using the Blade Rush and the Vanish. Oh, see, I think I've added Vanishing Blade at a certain point. And I might add a few more of these skills. I have modified it to fit in my game, but you can copy paste it and then change it up, you know. So I'm not using these versions, but if you look up here, I have another version of the same thing, which was copy pasted and then modified to, you know, work in my game how I want it to do without the skill learning system and whatnot. But yeah, so that'll do it for the skills. This is the skill that I've added. I'm going to start starting right here and working down. I've added a new system that I just barely started it, really. Haven't really, well, I've started adding it. It's got one card boss. So basically, it's not a card game. It's just when you kill enemies, the enemies will have a chance to drop an item, and it's a card item. And it's a very low % chance, like 1 out of 20 or less chance for them to drop the item. When they drop that item, you can use that item from anywhere, and it's gonna summon a picture. Well, it's gonna draw a picture of that boss on the screen just for flash. I don't know, because it looks cool. And then it's gonna initiate a combat of the boss version of that regular monster. So it's just like my way to create notorious monsters from the Final Fantasy XI world. So when you summon the boss battle, it gives you an option to fight him or not. So if you say no, you'll get your item back and you won't have to fight him. If you do say yes, then you're going to get into combat with a strong enemy, an enemy that is 10 times stronger, if not more, than the original enemy. Because I've basically copied the enemy, pasted him down into slot 100 and below, and then put a 0 after every one of the stats. So this is the Wildebeest. The Wildebeest normally has 1,500 HP, 100 MP, 55 attack, 45 defense, and so on. I've added a 0 to every one of these stats. I've added Scale Sprite to make him twice as big, and I've increased his experience and his rewards significantly. So basically 10 times the experience, but some of the items that you get from these card boss battles, you're only going to be able to craft the strongest weapons in the game from the drops from the card battles. So if you want to get the ultimate gear, you're going to basically have to farm the enemies and then get the card drop, and then you have to farm the card bosses who have percentage chance to drop certain crafting items, which I'll be making really soon. As soon as Yanfly on Friday, we're gonna get the crafting system from Yanfly, which is going to be awesome. I can't wait for it. So I've started the process of what I'm going to be doing with that plugin. Once it comes out, I'm going to be doing a lot of item updating. And if you want to get the new, I'm sure he'll probably post it on his website really, really soon. There's new, what is it called, icon sets, where you can get like colored versions of some of the default icons. I'll just show you real quick. So let's go over to a potion real quick. So here's the icon set, and then the standard one ends right here, right? This is our standard one. These are kind of old already. He's already added these a while ago. The potions, you probably already know about these. The potion ones have been added. These from here to here are just custom ones that I put in from other resources and stuff I've made. Then he's added these right here, from here all the way down to here. Wow. Lots of custom, really cool ones. This one's a custom one right here, this row. But all this one is a copy of this and this, one on top of each other. So that's all that is. But look at our icon set. That's incredible. We have tons of icons. So when we finally get our crafting system, we're going to have all of these icons to use for resources that we can make and just create all kinds of different stuff, which it's really cool. It gets me excited. So where were we at? I've lost myself. Okay, so we were talking about the skill for the card boss battles. So once you beat the card boss, it's going to drop crafting supplies, and with those crafting supplies, you're going to use those with Yanfly's crafting system to make your ultimate gear, your ultimate weapons, your ultimate armor, and all of that. Your ultimate warrior. No. So we're going to move on down now. We finished our skills, our items. So I've added quite a few items actually. I'm currently using a salvage system. Let me give some credit to Mr. T's. I've done a tutorial on Mr. T's salvage items. He also has a really awesome VxAce plugin, Mr. T's crafting system. I used it for a long time. I've spent hours inside the script editing that to make it how I want in some of my VxAce games. But he's doing MV plugins now, so Mr. T's salvage items. I know that Yanfly also has plans to release, he calls it something else, Disassemble. A Disassemble system, which is basically the same thing as the salvage. I've renamed the salvage to Dismantle. Yanfly uses Disassemble. Call it whatever you like. Tomatoes, tomatoes. But Mr. T's salvage is what I'm using right now for the crafting system. I will probably switch that out most likely once, but I don't know when people are going to vote for the Disassemble system too. I know there's a lot of different awesome plugins, and now that there's 12 to choose from, it could be a while before that happens. So I'm using Mr. T's until that point happens. Not all of my items, but a lot of the items can be broken down and dismantled. actually took the dismantle term from Witcher 3, which is an amazing game. If you haven't played it, check out Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt. So I'm using the salvage system, and you can break down items to get crafting components. And I haven't really started the crafting system yet, obviously, because the Unfly is crafting. I'm waiting for a really, really solid crafting plugin to come out. And I do have Sue's crafting plugin, and I use it in another game. But I'm going to wait for Yanflies before I do crafting in this game. So Sue's crafting plugin is really cool, too. No credit, definitely want to give credit, and nothing... I don't even know what I'm saying. Words? Can I English? Definitely a good plugin. That's all I'm trying to say. But I'm waiting for Yanflies for this one. So these are our base crafting components. They don't do anything by themselves, but when used in crafting recipes, they're going to be able to make lots of items. So I've allocated all of this space, so all of these will be base components all the way down to here. And I might even add some more if I feel that it's needed. I didn't want to have too many different base components because most items will break down into a certain base component. Like, so if you get like a dried frog's tongue and like a bone chip, they're both going to break down into bone ashes. So that's why you won't need so many crafting components, I feel. So moving down on our items are enchantment items. I've added a ton of enchantment items because before that there was only like 3 or 4. So basically using passive states that are being pushed onto items. So all of these enchantments here are basically just creating a state on the item that when you're holding this weapon or armor, it's actually this is specified weapon only. Using this note tag right here, upgrade weapon type 0 will make it so that your enchant can only go on weapons. And if you want it to only go on a particular weapon, change the 0 to a number. So like say sword is your weapon type 1, then you can, and you want this to be like a sword sharpener or something, you can go upgrade weapon type 1 and it'll only be will only work on a sword. So really cool functionality there. All of these are basic elements, so if you use the flaming enchantment on your weapon, then it's going to make it so that your weapon now does fire damage. And the same thing for all of these, all the way down to fusion and venom. Now, I'm not making the enchantments for every single element, because I think, like, for example, I have one element called silver, and I think there's a tutorial on that as well, how to do silver weapons. Same way you would do any element type weapon. But, I don't think it'd be, well, maybe now that I really think about it, you could do like a silver coated enchantment, and then it might make a weapon attack with silver. So I'll probably add silver. But for most elements, I've got the enchantment to just basically make it so that you would do attack elements, and I'm adding a prefix. So a prefix will go before the word, and then an affix will go after the word, and the word would be an item, a weapon, or an armor. In this case, a weapon or an armor, because I don't understand why you would need to use upgrades on items, but maybe somebody else will figure it out. So if you use this Gusty enchantment on your sword, it'll make your longsword a Gusty longsword, which is kind of cool. So I've also added elemental attack. Besides elemental attacks, I've also added state-causing attacks for the enchantment items. So, for example, the Blinding Strike enchantment does exactly what it says it'll do. It'll create a Blinding Strike enchantment on your sword, so when you attack your enemy, there's a 50% chance that they become blinded from that. And this is... I remember Final Fantasy X had a lot of this sort of thing, where you can put, like, it had like 4 slots on, you can have up to 4 slots on each piece of gear, and you could customize that gear to attack with states and stuff. And I thought that was really awesome, and I definitely wanted to include that in this game. So this is the blinding one, the silent one, the stunning one, and I added the paralyzing one, but I've reduced the 50% to a 33% on the paralyzed, because the paralyzed is just quite a bit stronger in comparison to its actual effect. Also made it so that it's harder to get the paralyzing strike enchantment. Like, for example, all of these enchantments and the glyphs, which I'll go over next, can be bought from the store. But the paralyzing strike and some other stronger ones I plan to make will be drop only. So, like I said, with that that enemy, the card boss battle, the only way to get the paralyzing strike enchantment right now is from farming Wildebeest, getting the card drop, and then killing the Wildebeest card boss. And then there's a 1 out of 3 chance, approximately. It's 99% chance if you kill 3. If you kill 3 or 4 of them, you'll basically get it. You might get it on the first try, though. That you'll get the Paralyzed Strike enchantment. So I plan to add more drops. I'm using Yanfly's extra enemy drops plugin, where you can just put a note tag, type in the item name, and then type in the percentage. Item name, percentage, awesome. You can make it so that an enemy drops a ton of items. So this enemy, the boss battle, is going to drop a lot of guaranteed drops. You're going to get some, smaller crafting gear that you could sell, or nothing really special for those. But then you have a 50% chance to get a Venom enchantment, which you can buy in the store, and then you got a 33% chance to get the Paralyzing Strike. And once I do the crafting materials, there'll be like 20% chance to get this crafting material, or 10% for like the super rare one. Probably make it so that each card boss will drop at probably 2 to 3 different high level crafting materials. So back down to the items. And I'm starting to add the cards from 100 down. So this is the card, which is basically going to call on a common event and control a variable. I was, thank you Yanfly for, I don't know why I didn't think of it. I was trying to use a switch for this common event, the card battle common event, which basically just controls a variable to the screen X and screen Y of the player, so that it knows where to draw a picture. And then using a note tag, it's basically, this is the item, what is it, item eval note tag? I think that's what it is. Yeah, info eval. It's an info eval. I was trying to use a switch here, and then when you look at the item, it shows this, it plays that eval. So if you look at 3 or 4 cards, it's going to turn on all of those cards, and if you use one, it's going to start the battle for every one of those cards. So that was broken for a little while, but Yanfly told me, well, why don't you just use variables instead of switches? And I'm like, duh. So now when you look at a card, it's going to control that variable to a number. You look at the card, it's going to control that same variable and change the number. So now you're only going to get into a battle with one of them, which makes the system work. So thank you again, Yanfly, for common sense that I lacked. Moving on down, we have no more items. Oh no, we do have items. I've added some new items that I'm also going to make these part of the, these are going to be crafting items. You'll get these items from drops as well, and maybe some treasure chests throughout the world, but they're not going to be store items. These are going to be basically drops, treasure chests, and crafting items. So you'll get the materials you need from enemies, and maybe even like a wandering vendor or something. But you'll have to craft them most likely. But what they do is they're adding a state. So they're gonna give you 50% of your HP. So you could use them in a crisis scenario when you're out of potions, just to give you 50% HP. But they're also going to inflict a state. And the states for all of these Twilight potions, I like how we have so many different color options for our icons. That's pretty cool. So I've allocated certain colors for certain elements. So you'll see reoccurring colors, like for the orb will be this color, and the potion will be that color when we're talking about a certain element. Really cool. So the states that they're adding, they're going to be doing 3 things, basically. They're going to change the element rate, which is going to give you resistance. So if you use the Fuzzy Twilight, you're going to have 50% physical resistance for 20 turns. Really, really neat. Might actually reduce that to 10 or 15. That seems like a lot, but it's going to be consumable and not that easy to get your hands on. So I figured might as well make it worth using instead of just selling to the vendor, right? And it's going to increase. It's going to add an attack element so that your attacks will now do physical damage. Most attacks will, but some weapons will only do like fire damage, or they'll only do like lightning or thunder damage, you know. So if you want your attacks to do physical and fire or something, then you might want to use that on certain elemental bosses, where your strongest weapon, it does an elemental attack, but the element that it does is strong against. The elemental is weak against that. Elemental and element, that's just confusing. Let's say golem, like the fire golem is strong against fire, and you've got this firestorm stiletto. You might want to add physical to that for a few rounds to do damage. So that's what that's for. Also, we're using Moogle X plugin, element boost, so that it's increasing the physical damage that you're doing by 20%. So this is another element boost, potency. Basically, it's adding potency, and then every one of these is going to be its own thing. So this one's fire. they are essentially the same thing, but its own element rather. So this one's for fire. Fire resistance, attacks with fire, and fire damage does 20% more damage for 20 turns. This one is ice, thunder, water. All of the elements basically will have its own version of a Twilight Potion. So that's it for the items, I believe. Yeah. Moving on to the weapons, I want to add some weapons. Probably right now, after I add the enemies. Basically, this is the thing that I need to do the most right now, is add some new weapons and allocate the regions in certain areas. So only thing I've added are the silver weapons and the elemental pistol, which is using Yanfly's Weapon Unleashed plugin. This is the note tag you would use, Weapon Unleash. The percent chance that you want it to switch its basic attack with the Weapon Unleash, and then the skill name that you want it to use. You can also use ID number right here if you have multiple skills with the same exact name, because it will use the highest numbered version of that skill if you don't specify a number and there are multiple of the same name. So the harp is basically just going to do an attack element of sonic damage, because it's a new element that I've added. We're going to go down to the types when we get there. And it's going to give 20 strength and 20 wisdom, because, I mean, naturally, everybody knows that when you hold a harp, you're going to get stronger. Moving to armors. I'm going to add some new armors. What have I added since I think the Phoenix Ring, which Yanfly put out a really cool video on how to make an item that will bring you back to life upon death. I mean, I already was using the an auto life plugin from, let me give credit to whoever's plugin it was, auto life plugin from Genius Guruman. But I mean, I had it in the game, but I don't have any items with auto regen. I'm using it in my other game for sure though. But I haven't really used it in this game yet. I was planning to, but now that I've got this Phoenix Ring, I think that's going to like supplement what I needed it to do. So I might not use it in this game, but I'll be using it in my other one still. Assassin's Cloak, which I went over already. It's basically adding 2 more uses to the already super strong Assassinate skill. As a matter of fact, I kind of want to make this cost a little bit more, like one of the higher and more expensive items, because it's really, really strong. It also increases attack damage and magic attack damage, and even your agility as well. Yeah, it needs to cost more than that. And I might even nerf that to 1, but I'm gonna leave it 2 for now, just to wait for some more feedback. I'm waiting for Z-Man to let me know on this next version too. Alright, so we've gone through our enemies, but one thing, or no, we haven't gone through our enemies, we were just linking quickly to the enemies. So, our Uruks, I've added element rates, state resist, state rates, all kinds of special parameters, added more drops to all the enemies, added some new skills to some. The mercenary, basically all I've done is added drops to him, because he doesn't get any special. I went in here and I was going to add stuff, and I'm like, why would he have more fire resistance? I want it all to be sort of logical and make sense, right? For the boss right here, for General Gez, he's got lots of state resists. I mean, you won't have access to many of these states, if any of these states, by the time you fight him. But I thought if I wanted to call on this boss battle later on, I might want to, you know, just copy paste and change the parameters. So I've added those in there just to make sense. And I've given him element rates. So since he cast Thunder at the beginning of the game, I gave him the Thunder attack, Lightning Bolt attack. But I made him strong against Thunder, so he's basically going to take half damage. The same thing with Darkness. He's going to take very little damage from Darkness, only 10%. If you hit him for 100, he's only going to take 10. I've made him weak to light damage and astral damage, though, so he has weaknesses to accommodate for his strengths there. Gave him some more drops, gave him a custom AI, so he's got his own built-in AI, so that he'll do what I want him to do when we're fighting. I gave him the ability to raise his henchmen, so that changes the strategy around, so that you have to kill him, you have to focus fire on him, because he'll just keep calling henchmen, but you can still kill the henchman because he's only got a limited number of MP, so he's only going to be able to call henchmen a certain number of times, because this is going to cost 100 MP to call his henchmen again. Sewer jellies, I've done what most games have done when it comes to like water-based things. Made them weak to thunder and lightning. So the jelly is going to take double damage from thunder. It's going to take 50% damage from from ice, it's going to take half damage from our fire and no damage from water, because why would it? Also made it resistant to certain elements, like he's gonna do like lightning shock damage, but he's gonna take more damage from thunder. So it's kind of, I don't know, I might change this around. So, but currently I've made him immune to paralyze. I kind of feel like paralyze would be like a shock thing, so I might just make that a 50% resistance, but we'll see what I do with it later on. Made him immune to like soaked and disease and certain stuff like that. The sewer rats, I made them immune to poison and disease because it just makes sense. That they would be around it and they would have such a high tolerance from like filth that they'll be inclined to do that. I'm not going to explain my reasoning for every reason why I've done everything, but this is what I have done. It changed his resistance to ice so that it takes more damage. He takes more damage from astral damage, takes a little bit less from nature, and he takes very, very little from venom damage. The bat, similar changes, but made him attack with wind, giving him resistance from absorb, resistance from wind, resistance from darkness, but giving him 3 damage weaknesses as well. So he takes more from fusion, astral, and light. Immune to silence, immune to disease, immune to dizzy. The mutant added quite a bit of parameter changes. Well, not really parameter changes, more of just element rate changes. And added some attack states. So when he attacks you, there's a 1 out of 20 chance that you're going to become blinded, 1 out of 10 chance that you're going to be poisoned, and 1 out of 10 chance that you're going to become diseased. And then added certain resistances and certain weaknesses. Changed some of his drops so that he's got 10% chance to drop extra stuff. These are really expensive items, so you're only going to be able to fight this boss 1 time. It is a mandatory boss, but you might get a really good item for beating him. If you get this item, it's not going to break the game. It's just going to make, when you get Lydia, her a bit stronger. Or even if you're using Tiana, it's going to increase the life gain. So these aren't going to be game-breaking items. And this one is just a specialty item that you're going to be using when you know a certain enemy is going to add a lot of elements. It's sort of like a ribbon from Final Fantasy series that makes you immune to elements, but it doesn't make you immune. It makes you 50% resistant to those elements, but it also costs 250 max HP to use. So there's a trade-off with this item. So these aren't game-breaking items. Even if you got both of them, it's not going to change the difficulty of the game too much. It's going to make it a little bit easier and a little bit more strategic if you get that when you're going to use that. The jungle fly traps, you can see all the changes I've done here. I don't need to go through all of them, but made him resistant, immune to poison, blind, silence, and bleeding, just because it's a plant. I don't know. The Wildebeest, similar changes, but not quite as many. I've scaled the sprite up just because it needs to look like it's a little bit bigger. Jungle Hornet, similar things. Made him weak to wind, weak to venom, but made him, or no, strong to wind, strong to venom, but made him weak to like fire and ice and thunder and stuff like that. This item this creature I haven't put in the game yet. The bandit, we're using the random, I think I went over this in the last time, we're using random battlers. So when you get into a fight with a bandit, it could look like one of 13 different bandits, and it can have 1 to 8 different weapons. So this is like a little randomized battle, so that if you keep encountering bandits, it doesn't always look like the same battle. Cave Troll, haven't put him in the game yet, but I've fully made him. He's ready to be in the game. I just need to figure out a good place for the Cave Troll. Maybe I'll make like a little side area where once you get the boat, you can like, you'll be over here, so once you get the boat, like you could sail around all the way to like maybe over here I'll add like a little alcove with a cave in here or something. I don't know. Or maybe later on when you go to you get the airship, you'll be able to go into a cave or something. So he's going to be added probably soon because his stats, if I add him later on, I'll change his stats around. Empire Soldier, just gave him resistances and elements. Made the Necromancer a little bit stronger, gave him some more HP, made his, I think it was the Death Coil, do a little bit more damage. The Life Drain, I don't think I did that yet, but I was planning on changing the Life Drain to do more damage as well, so let's find that really quickly. Drain Life was the custom one I made. So is he using a skill from Drain Life? This is the one that I made. Okay, so let's go back to our enemy. Drain Life. Okay, yeah, Drain Life. So Drain Life, I wanted it to be a little bit stronger. I felt like it was a little weak. And then Necroslag, I wanted this to be a little bit stronger too. Oh wait, no, this is the mix skill. This one's fine. But Death Coil, see, Death Coil would be times 6, and then Drain Life is times 6. No, Death Coil I want it to be times 7, and then Chance to Doom. Let's go back to our enemy. Death Coil, Drain Life. Yeah, Shadow Bolt. Let's look at Shadow Bolt real quick. Skills on our Shadow Bolt. Times 4. Okay, so our Shadow Bolt is times 4. Our Drain Life is times 6. That's times 7. So Shadow Bolt, I want it to go up in a similar fashion. So 5. I don't know why that's 18. It should be 20. Okay, now that looks better. Because I wanted them to be sort of glass cannon type. You know, they're going to hit hard, but they're not going to have a ton of life. And currently they were so easy, like you could just kill them in a couple hits. So I've had to increase the TP cost on my version of the skill that I copied from Yanfly's project. What is it called? Blade Rush. Yeah, there we go. The Blade Rush. So I've changed the damage on Blade Rush. I've got rid of the cost, gave it a different animation, and changed the TP cost as well. I think it was 30. I made it 40 now. So it's a little bit less likely to be spamming. You're going to spam it. Also, I've changed Arturus's guard, and I've added a guard replace for Arturus. So he's got a custom replace guard. And if his HP is under 66% or 67%, then he's going to have Knight's Valor. Instead of using Knight's Valor as a skill that costs TP and you can use it at any time, I've removed that from his tech set, and now he's basically, his guard will be replaced. And I've enhanced that skill so that it doesn't cost any TP for Knight's Valor, and also it adds the guard state. So you're still guarding when you're replacing guard with Knight's Valor. You're still going to have that guard, but also, instead of guarding, it's going to give you regeneration and your small rounds of buffing. So Elite Assassin boss, I just changed his skills, his action patterns around a little bit. Gave him Bleed Strike and Assassinate. So remember the combination I was saying about how strong Bleed Strike is with Assassinate? So if you get very unlucky and you're bleeding while he uses Assassinate, but I made it so he can only use Assassinate when he's under 15% chance. So when he's about to die, he's at his strongest. And if he assassinates you while you're Bleed Strike, you're going to take like 2,000 damage, depending on your luck of the variants. Speaking of variants, I've changed the variants around from 5 to 10. I might be changing that a little bit. It seems like it can really make items crazy strong. Matter of fact, we're going to nerf it just a little bit right now, from 10 to 8. So let's go into our... is it our item core for the variants? Yeah, item core. So we're going to take that from 0 to... since I've disallowed negative variants, it makes items at the beginning of the game a lot stronger, which is I'm okay with, because I want the players to start kind of strong and not be the game to be super hard at the very beginning, but gradually become challenging to where even if you were doing a little bit of grinding, the ending is going to be kind of hard to do. But not frustratingly hard, just balanced and difficult and challenging. Rock Turtle, these are when you get to the mountain, you're looking for the cure for the Marsh Decay. These are going to be the encounters that you face. The Hauntling, Toxishroom. Basically, you can see how many element rates I've put on. So, resistant to stun, resistance to soaked. Since it's like a turtle, I don't know how it would be soaked. They swim around. Hauntling. So, in the game, I've made most creatures weak to fusion and weak to to astral damage. Like, astral damage does the most damage to the most creatures. Like, most creatures, enchanting astral to a weapon will be the best choice most of the time, but that's why you can't get that enchantment in the store. You can get fusion, which is your second best choice, but I had to make it so that some creatures were extremely strong to astral damage, and actually fusion damage as well. So instead of giving him a weakness to fusion, I'm just going to cut his weakness to fusion. I'm not going to make him weak to it, but I'm just not going to give him any damage bonus against him for it. So, since Astral, you may think that, oh, just put Astral on your weapons and everything is going to take more damage. It's not quite like that. Most creatures will take a little more damage from Astral elements, but some creatures, like the Hauntling, and creatures from the Astral Plane, which will be a whole nother world map that I'm planning on building, but with like a different tint and like, just like, I have some crazy ideas. We're going to have some creatures that are really, really strong to Astral damage. And once you're on the astral plane, I might even make it so that creatures there absorb that type, you know, and heal from it. Climber Frog changed his skills around. I've changed Frog speed so that instead of just adding an agility buff, speed buff, it's going to give a little bit of his HP back. I think I did it plus 10%, plus 100 HP. So not a big one, but made him so that when he actually spams that agility when he's about to die, it just doesn't, you know, it seems like he's a really easy enemy if you get that. Him spamming that. I mean, it's only rating 3, but he can still spam it. So when he is spamming it, it'll make the fight just a little more difficult. I mean, not even difficult, just longer, basically, because it would normally be easy if he is spamming that. So the Greater Haunt, I've had to nerf his agility a little bit, nerf his magic attack just a little bit. I nerfed his skill, the Planar Explosion, which is the AoE. Was it the Astral Rift? Yeah, I think it was the Astral Rift. I nerfed that down. I also need to check the element on that to make sure it's the right element I want it to be really quickly. Because he was just wiping parties, man. Okay, so Planar Explosion is Astral, and then Astral Rift is Astral, right? So yeah, this was, I think, ×5, and I made it ×4 because it's an all enemies attack, so it's already going to be strong. Especially with a chance to critical, I mean, it's pretty damn strong. Still haven't added the skeleton anywhere in the troops yet, but plan to add like an area. I imagine in the next area that I'll be building the map on, the pyramid dungeon area, I'm going to be adding skeletons. I'm going to be adding werewolves, probably calling back some of the enemies like the Hauntling. Probably put the cave troll in there as well. And then the boss, this is going to be the boss. I haven't designed him fully yet, but Akashix has added a really cool side view battler. So check out Yanfly's page. I'll put a link in the description, or where you can link to Akashix. I'll put a link to Akashix directly. I'll just hunt it down, find that link. Get that side view battler, put it in your SV actors, and then type in this note tag. Basically put this exact thing right there to make it look right. You can pause it to get that, or it's in a text file. If you get Akashix download, it's in a text file. It makes a really cool side view boss battle, I think, and I'm gonna make this into the next boss battle. I'm gonna add a couple more like fish type monsters for the area around this continent, and then put them 100% chance in that region. Like how you would do that. So you would put the weight of the enemy 100, and then when you call, I haven't made it a troop yet, but we're gonna make it troop number 59. Okay, so troop number 59 is gonna be the piranhas. Let's go to troops 59. Let's add the coast piranha. We'll do one of them, and let's add 60 with 2 piranha. And then let's add 61 with 3 piranha. That one might be too low. So we'll copy paste that, edit this one so that it's this one. edit this one so that it's... Oh, I forgot to do the regions, so I'll have to do that too. So let's go back to the first one. Specify by region, and you type in the region number that you want to fight them on. So 31 only. So you're only going to encounter this fight when you're on region 31. And I think what happens, I don't know exactly how it works, but when you have a weight of 100, it's going to guarantee that fight or any other fight that has the similar weight. So it's kind of weird. I don't know how it fully works, but I know that I basically make it so that every fight would add up to 100, except in areas that I want the fight to be a specific enemy in a region, and then I give it a weight of 100. So if you count up the weight of the entire world encounters, you got 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 95, 100. So we got 100 weight distributed through all those encounters. And then on these regions, I'm giving these fights in region 31 100 weight. That way, I feel like, I don't know exactly how it works, but it seems like you're not going to get any of these encounters if you give these 100 weight. Like, it'll never happen. But like I said, it might happen. I haven't tested it 1,000 times to be sure. You know, I just probably tested it 100 times though. All right. So where were we? To the states. Okay. What new states have I added? Well, I've added the new states for all the enchantments that are calling for those states when you use them. I've added a state of the Saigon state. Before you use Saigon, which was the Ronin skill, that would restore a little bit of HP, give you a defense buff, magic defense buff, and what I've done, and it would actually give a regen state. But instead of calling the regen state, what I've done in this instance is gave it its own regeneration, which I don't think it should be 10. I'll give it a little weaker than 10. But gave it so that you take 15% less damage from Bushido. Currently, there's no enemies that use the Bushido element. You only have skills on the Ronin that does Bushido. But I imagine I will have like undead samurai that you'll have to fight later on. So when you use Saigon, you'll take 15% less damage from their attacks. I've added element boost so that your Bushido skills will do 15% more damage, and you're gonna get your regeneration for 5 turns. So, but because I've gave it its own state and removed the regeneration state from that skill, I've also increased the TP cost of Saigon to 50. Made the states for the Bard, the boost morale, all the Threnody states that are calling for elemental boost. Now, I know that there is a variable for Threnody. However, there's no way for me to make that variable even be needed or required whatsoever. Now, I'm still working on an idea of how to make Threnody, the Threnody variable change anything. And I've even went into Moogle's plugin and tried to make a global variable there so that I can go like $ game variables. And then call on whatever, I forgot what it is, it's like 13 or something. And then call on that, you know what I mean? To put that number in there. But it doesn't work. I wish Moogle would update the plugin so that you can specify the elemental boost with the variable, because then I'd be able to use my Threnody skill, and it would make it so that the higher your Threnody skill, the more element boost you're going to receive. Now I would have to cap the skill really low, probably at 100, because that would double the damage from it, and with all other potency boosts that you're going to get in the game, that could seem overpowered really quick. So I'm going to leave the variable in the game though, because I'm hoping one day we'll be able to call on a variable with elemental boost, or Yanfly does something with elemental boost. Please, Yanfly, do something with the elemental boost. Potency skill. Potency skill. You saw how I use it. Hopefully you did. I know you watched some of my videos. I would really appreciate some way to do potency and elemental control, like to increase damage with elements and reduce damage from elements. I mean, you could already reduce damage from elements, but I'm talking about an alternative way, the way that this plugin operates, the Moogle X Elemental Boost. All I really want is the ability to control the amount with a variable. These are the passives. I've added these passives. I feel like I've already talked about this. Yeah, I think I've already gone over these states. Animations, I've used some of I've made a ton of custom animations. You guys have seen all these custom animations. I've imported some of Yanfly's animations from his sample project. Once again, you can get a sample project by supporting him on Patreon. Now, he uses a lot of the default ones, which are copy-pasted. A lot of them are modified. A lot of them are custom. So it's just, they're different ones. And I've put those in here just to get some different ones. I mean, I think that feels like that was a built-in one. But yeah, added those from Yanfly. The tile sets, I've already talked about this. I've added a filtered version of the dungeon tile set. Common events, I haven't, luckily, I'm trying not to use a lot of common events when I don't have to. Now, sometimes I have to. I'm trying to do everything in JavaScript that I possibly can. That way, it challenges myself. When I try to come up with an idea for a tutorial, and I know I could do it in common events, and I know I could do it in JavaScript, I would go with the JavaScript method just to show people and to like ease them into learning JavaScript one little line of code at a time, because I wish that's what someone would do for me too. So this is our card battle. I'll go over it really quickly. At the beginning of the game, we're not actually using map X or map Y. We are using screen X and screen Y of the player. Map X and map Y puts it all the way over to the top left corner for some reason, and I don't understand why it does that. But screen X and screen Y will put it where the player's at. So we're doing a conditional statement, which we're using the info eval or eval info for the card. When you look at the card, it's automatically controlling that variable, setting it to 1. And if for the first battle, for the Wildebeest one, and then for the next card, I'll set it to 2. So when you look at it, it's already controlling that variable. So when you use this card, it's going to call on this, and I'll have a basically copy paste this for, you know, if card battle equals 2, then do everything for the next boss battle. What it's going to do, it's going to show the picture, let the player know enemy is 10 times stronger than its regular version. Warning, are you sure you want to fight this? I'll actually put that in there. Are you sure you want to fight this boss? And then you'll get the option to fight it or to not activate the card. And then by default, we're going to put not activate the card. When you choose to fight it, it's going to erase the picture. It's going to start the fight with the boss, and then it's going to control the variable back to 0. So after the boss battle, if you consumed the card, the variable won't... I don't think that would matter. That's just like a failsafe. And then if they say no, it's going to erase the picture. It's going to give you the item back because you had to consume the item to call on this common event. And then it's going to control the variable back to 0. Haven't changed much of the system around at all. I think you guys have already seen the new title screen. It's been in a ton of tutorials. Oh no, that's for my other game. I'm going to do a new title screen. Like, I like the little thing I made, but I'm going to do an animated title screen. Before I do it in the game, I'll probably do a tutorial on it so you guys can see how I did the new title screen, the animations and stuff. Added new elements, added the silver, added Sonic element, added new types, added the song spell and the passives, skill types. Added new weapon types, added the harp, I think that was it. New armor types, added, I did a tutorial on Lydia's armor. I don't know if I covered that in the last Let's Make a Game, but I've added Lydia's armor. So when you start with that armor, that gives you resistance to immunity, poison immunity, and it gives you immunity to paralyze. Lydia is the only one who can use it because she's the only one who has the access to the skill of armor types, for the armor types. Added the dragon armor, but nobody's using this yet. Might even take it out later on. But I've added some items for a dragon set bonus type thing, and not sure what I'm going to do with that. It'll be in-game if I do use it, though. I've kept the equipment types the same. I haven't adjusted the terms at all. Whew! We went through all of the whole database and gone through all the changes that I've done in the last 10 days or so. Man, we're already at an hour 14, so we've added the enemies here. I need to add this map here, but I'm going to cut this episode short because I got to go to work today. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. And I hope you guys enjoyed my non-content from yesterday as well to see the progress of the game. Let's Make a Game will be mostly talking about everything that I'm doing, showing you the database, showing you how to do the stuff, and then maybe like a little bit of playtesting, but not very much. But I'll be doing like playtesting videos maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks or something as I work on this game. As far as predictions as to how long this game's going to take, I'm assuming 2 to 3, maybe even 4 more months before the game is actually at where I want it to be released. It's going to be a demo, and I understand most demos are like 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, or whatever. But I actually want it to be minimum 5-hour storyline if you rush through. That's just how I want it to be. When it is released, it'll be available on Yanfly's website for the games, and it'll be available through other options as well. But thank you guys so much for watching this. Remember to like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this sort of content. I really appreciate you guys. I love each and every one of you for watching my content and for being the RPG makers that you are. Continue to ask your questions in the comments below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. And if you would like a priority on your special request, you can support me on Patreon if you'd like to, but don't feel like you're obligated to, because you don't have to. I still love you. You guys are great. We will see you in the next Let's Make a Game episode.